hey y'all. Oh, let me wait till that's done. Okay, hey y'all. My name is Ashley Brandon. I am from Hot Springs, Arkansas. Okay, well, I'm not from hot here, but I live here. I'm from Beaufort, South Carolina, actually, all over. You name it, I'd probably live there. And I'm so excited that you joined us tonight so you can learn more about our amazing BioMS curcumin. I just want to share just really quickly what this has done for me because I I can't, like, I can't tell enough people about it because I went from living in pain all day every day to I'm at the gym, I'm like renovating a camper, I'm living life and I'm not in pain every single day. And that in and of itself is just, it's a game changer, it's a life changer. And I am blessed that I get to talk to so many people every single day who are also experiencing amazing benefits, getting off of medications and being able to walk, like being able to get out of bed, not having migraines, like, or serious headaches like that. It is an absolute game changer. And so that's what we want to share tonight. We just want to share a little bit of the science behind it. Dr. Jeremy is amazing, and he's put together a really cool presentation that explains the science behind it and explains it in a way that me, who is not a scientist or a doctor, can understand and follow along with why this works, what the power of it is, and how it can do what it can do, what it can does, what it can does, what it can do. So again, I have a traumatic brain injury. I have arthritis in my neck. I have an exposed nerve in my neck. I have bad ankles. They swell, they hurt, and I had sharp stinging pain in my feet every time I got up out of bed every single morning. If y'all know what I'm talking about, I can't say the medical terminology. And then my neck issue would create very, very, very painful headaches. You can think of the word I'm thinking of right now. And I lived with all those on a constant basis because I'm not going to take prescription pain medications and have other side effects with more problems from prescription pain medications, which is all they really could give me, because I have taken ibuprofen my entire life. And when I hit 30, I became allergic to it. You know what? It's better off that way anyway, because Tylenol and ibuprofen are bad for your kidneys. They're bad for your liver. I'm sure Dr. J can attest to that. And so I couldn't take that. I couldn't take it every single day. So I lived in pain. And within a couple days of taking this, the difference was so exciting that I woke up one day, I hopped up out of bed. My son was crying in the other room. I hopped up out of bed and I ran to his room and I was like, oh, my feet didn't hurt. Oh my gosh, I was so excited. Like and that's how it's been ever since. A couple days later, I noticed more things and more things. And you literally can't pry this out of my hands now. I have one in my car. I have one in my home. I have every family member is taking it, like, because it is that much of a game changer. So I'm going to turn it right over to Dr. J so he can share the science behind this and why this works. So you'll hear more than just our stories. You'll hear the exact details of why this can do what it does.
Hey, Ashley, thank you for sharing. My name is Dr. Jeremy Thornton. Practiced here in Southwest Missouri for 23 plus years, primarily working with autoimmune and chronic inflammatory conditions. And so the curcumin conversation is very near and dear to me, as that's something that I've used personally and in my practice for a very, very long time. And so I'm going to share just a little bit about, many people have tried curcumin or turmeric, or have at least heard about it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the science and what I call the hidden secret, as well as an exciting new technology. So I'm going to do a quick screen share. It says the host disabled screen sharing. Mr. Ryan. We'll pause for technical difficulties. And so literally tried dozens of different types and versions of curcumin and turmeric on the market. And the issue has always been about bioavailability. And what that means is that if you take it by mouth, very little gets through the digestive system, past the liver, into the bloodstream, right, which is where it can get to the cells. And so I'm going to try again, see if I can share now. Okay. Let's try that again. Can you guys see my screen? Awesome, awesome. Thumbs up. All right, this one always reminds me to mention that that this information is for educational purposes only, not making medical recommendations for anybody to do anything or take anything or try anything or go against their medical advice. So I always want to mention that. So turmeric, of course, is often called the golden spice, right? And so what most people don't know is it actually comes from this very pretty plant, flowering plant up here on the right, called the curcuma longa plant. Of course, the turmeric is this not so pretty root down here, right? But that's where all the magic happens. And over time, they have discovered that really the star of the show is a component of turmeric called curcumin. Okay, so curcumin comes out of the turmeric root. It's a polyphenol that belongs in the ginger family. One interesting thing about curcumin is it does not dissolve in water. They call it lipophilic, meaning that it will dissolve in fat only. So this is something to remember as we talk about what we'll talk about soon, called the hidden secret, is that trying to get a lipophilic substance into the bloodstream that's mostly water is a challenge in and of itself, right? So this is what I love to do. I'm a big nerd, right? So I like to go to pubmed.gov and search all the new research that's out there on curcumin. And this number just continues to climb, but you see what I've circled in red there. Over 19,000 publications on PubMed just about curcumin alone. And what I always tell people to do that's really neat is, if you have a health condition you're curious about or that you're experiencing, or you know someone that is to type in that search bar up there at the top, curcumin and whatever that health condition might be. I'm hard pressed to find a disease or a health condition that there isn't volumes of research on how curcumin could impact that health condition. And so these are some of the biggest benefits, biggest areas of healing and repair and activity that curcumin has in the body. It's most well known for, of course, its anti-inflammatory benefits, but it also has antioxidant activity, has anti-cancer effects, neuroprotection. So there's a lot of research, and especially recently, on its effects on things like neurodegenerative conditions, things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and things like this. Hepatoprotection, of course, hepato means liver, so liver diseases. Cardiovascular protection, everything from inflammation in the heart and the blood vessels and plaquing and blood pressure and cholesterol and all these different things that we hear about. There's lots of research showing benefits of curcumin in these areas. Anti-diabetic effects, it improves insulin sensitivity of the cells, lowers blood sugar, lowers A1C, immune regulation, working with autoimmune patients. This is a big area of interest to me, being able to balance the immune system. And a lot of times that's also driven by all of the inflammation. And so these are some of the areas most researched of the benefits of curcumin. This article right here, talking about the potential therapeutic effects of curcumin, the anti-inflammatory agent against neurodegenerative, cardiovascular, pulmonary, that's lung, metabolic, that's like diabetes, autoimmune, and neoplastic diseases. Neoplastic means the C word, right? And so this article, I love it because it also had some very good images in there. This one showing all of the different inflammatory pathways that curcumin inhibits. I find this fascinating. Now, that probably doesn't mean much to you, but each of these individual little things coming out from curcumin are a single pathway, inflammatory pathway that's inhibited by curcumin. That's very powerful. This is another visual showing where a large volume of the research is in specific health conditions. And so you guys can read those, but we have liver diseases, and we have lung diseases, we have skin diseases, we have neurodegenerative diseases, we have other inflammatory diseases, other conditions, infectious diseases, endocrine disorders, heart disease, skeletal or bone abnormalities, and cancers. And these are just the disease processes with the most volume of research behind it, just in a graphic and a visual. And so, you know, when we see all of this activity, we see all of this research and all of these amazing things that curcumin can make a difference in, that curcumin can affect, it makes you wonder, why don't we hear more about it, right? Why isn't this on the front page of every newspaper, of every article, of every program on TV, right? And one of the reasons is what I call the hidden secret, right? There's always a but, right? When you hear all of these amazing things, what's the catch? The but is the hidden secret in curcumin is bioavailability, okay? And so, a lot of the early studies, thankfully, when they do research, they don't just jump right into human studies, right? They don't just say, hey, let's see what this herb will do if Ashley takes a lot of it. Let's see what happens, right? Thankfully, they do research in the lab, and they do research in test tubes and petri dishes and cell cultures, right? And then eventually maybe animal studies, and then they might do human studies, right? And so all of the early research on curcumin and turmeric were showing these powerful benefits that it could do in the lab, right? That it could impact cancer cells like this, that it could block inflammatory pathways like that, that it could impact metabolic issues inside the cell. But then they would try to apply the curcumin turmeric in an oral substance to give to a human, right? And then they weren't seeing the same benefits. And they were puzzled because it did all of these amazing things in the lab. It was doing virtually none of those in the human studies, right? That's a problem. And again, it is because of bioavailability. So you'll probably find it surprising that of the percentage of curcumin that you ingest will actually get absorbed at the intestinal level is only 10%, okay? And less than that will ever make it to the cell. If we're talking about turmeric, right, which is, for example, in a 500 milligram, let's say a capsule of 500 milligrams of turmeric, there's only about 1 milligram of curcumin that ever reaches the bloodstream and the organs, okay? The rest of it, as this so distinctly tells us, ends up in the toilet, all right? This here in this article here talks about the problem of curcumin and its bioavailability. It says that curcumin has been confirmed to exhibit very poor bioavailability, with many studies showing very low or even undetectable concentrations in the blood. Major reasons postulated are due to its poor absorption, rapid metabolism, chemical instability, rapid systemic elimination. So when people would take curcumin and turmeric orally, very little was ever getting past the liver into the bloodstream, okay? And that's when they said undetectable. So they would give the oral administration of the curcumin or the turmeric, and then they measure it in the bloodstream, and a lot of times they couldn't find it. It wasn't getting at measurable levels in the bloodstream. And then the liver, what was in the bloodstream, the liver quickly cleared out, and then it was eliminated, of course, in the urine. That is until now. And this is what we were talking about, a new technology. This is a game changer. I always say that, Ashley, I say that this is what I always wished curcumin could be, but never found it to be, right? Studying curcumin and turmeric for a very long time, using it in practice, using various versions of it over the years. Somebody admit Gary. Oh, I can do it. Awesome. I have the power, right? Finally seeing this technology and seeing what it can do in people, it blows me away every day. The testimonies that we see, Ashley, in our group, people sharing in our Facebook group, which we need to make sure we remind people to invite to and make sure they can get in to see. It's been life-changing, to say the least. What we're seeing in this little bitty bottle that Ashley was showing is upwards of 277 times more bioavailable than traditional curcumin or turmeric in a supplement form. Okay. So 10 drops of that little dropper bottle is equivalent to about 17.5 pounds of turmeric root. That's what we'd have to consume to potentially reach those levels in the bloodstream. I don't know about you, but I'm not consuming that much turmeric, right? And so here's a little bit about the technology. Really, it's 3 technologies in one. First, we extract just the curcumin component right out of the turmeric. Then they apply nanotechnology to the curcumin, making these tiny nanoparticles. And then there's still a lipid-like substance, right? So the problem is still getting that into the bloodstream that's mostly water. So they wrap those nanoparticles in a micelle. And this micelle structure can easily carry curcumin through the bloodstream to the organs, to the tissues, to the cells, so that it can be easily utilized. And so the size here is showing the end product less than 30 nanometers. To give you an idea how small that is, a red blood cell is 7,000 nanometers wide. Okay, a human hair is about 100,000 nanometers thick. So a nanometer, if you take the thickness of your fingernail and made 1,000,000 slices in that thickness of your fingernail, one of those slices would be a nanometer. That's how small. It's hard to visualize something that small, right? But this is another part of the magic of being able to get this into the body at therapeutic levels. And this is why we're seeing the magic that we're seeing in people's health. So this is just a visual of a 2,000 milligram, 2 gram dose of curcumin. This is what levels are reaching the plasma here. This is the peak, right? I don't know about you, but that's not terribly exciting. Ashley, does that look very exciting there? Ta-da! This is what we achieved. And this is exactly what the paper said earlier, right? Is rapid metabolism, rapid excretion, poor absorption. And this is exactly what we're seeing. And in 2 hours, we're not seeing anything at all. And it's already completely gone out of the bloodstream. So if we look here, we hear a lot of people saying, well, I take curcumin that has black pepper extract. You guys probably heard that. Anybody heard black pepper extract or green in my curcumin to increase bioavailability? Okay, so this is a study that does that. And the interesting thing is the reason that causes a brief spike in levels in the bloodstream is that it inhibits phase 2 liver detoxification. So this is a phase of important liver function, right? That we're slowing down, allowing this peak right here. This does look a little bit better than this one, right? This peak right here in curcumin in the bloodstream, but then look what rapidly happens by an hour. It's down here, okay? By 2 hours, by 3 hours, it's undetectable in the bloodstream. And so one of the problems that I have with utilizing black pepper extract is that if we're slowing down detoxification of curcumin, what happens in the cases of what they call polypharmacy, when somebody is on multiple drugs or prescription medications or even supplements? What if we slow down liver detoxification? What is that going to do to these other things that patient may be taking or using? They'd be questionable, right? So this is our technology right here. And I want you to pay attention. Well, first, this is native curcumin right down here. Of course, we can't even see it come off of the baseline, right? That's how low those concentrations are, right? This is our technology here, reaching peaks up here in the bloodstream. And that's super exciting, right? But what's even more exciting is, remember how many hours it was in the bloodstream with just curcumin alone? 2 hours, right? We added black pepper, we stretched it to 3 hours. But look at the time in the bloodstream here. We've got 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours, 24 hours. We still have measurable amounts of curcumin in the bloodstream with a single dose. This isn't multiple doses, and that's what I would usually have to do with patients prior to this technology, was to give large doses of curcumin capsules multiple times a day to achieve a therapeutic response, because of course the body would rapidly clear it out. And this is what we're achieving with this new technology, with this bio-MS technology. And that's really all I had to share. So I want to turn it back over to Ashley. We have some people that we're going to share some testimonies. We're going to open up after that to maybe do a little Q&A if anybody has any questions. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Ashley, please take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jeremy. You nailed it. That was awesome. I'm sitting here holding my my little curcumin model that I've got, and I
Oh,
just thought that was so cool. It's so cool to look at that. Like there's the curcumin, and this is why we're able to absorb it. So I love Dr. Jeremy. He can put it in a way that I'm like, oh, that's how that works. So thank you. Yeah, so like Dr. J said, you've heard my story. Now you've heard the science. So why not hear a couple more people's stories, because everybody's story is different with this. And that's the power of it, is it touches so many things and can help so many things. Like if I tried to listen the other day and I was like, listen, I'm exhausted. I'll type it up, okay? Like I'll type it up. It helps a lot of things, okay? But I know Ryan, I know you were gonna share, and I'd love to hear, and I'd love everybody to hear your story because it's so cool.
Hey, what is going on? How's everyone doing? My name is Ryan Stokes, and man, I've been using this product, I guess, longer than anyone here, right? Maybe a couple of you. I doubt anyone else has used it longer than me. We stumbled onto it because of a relationship with a buddy from Tijuana. We got it, and everything was in Spanish, right? And so he knew different things that we were dealing with. My wife has Hashimoto's. She has no thyroid. She struggles once you lose that battery pack, that thyroid, you struggle with a lot of stuff, right? And so she's struggled with life, and we've been on a constant journey with Dr. J, just to get her back to a version of her that she knew before, right? And so we went down that journey, and along with that journey was a journey that I've been struggling with since I was 14. We'll just say that every male in my family and some of the women in my family have dealt with hand pain to the point where we lose the strength in our hands. And then, like my grandparents, all their hands are really just formed in. At age 14, we noticed that I was starting to show that there was issues with that. And we also struggle with a couple neurological issues that my dad struggles with that we're just not sure what it is. Doctors can't figure it out. But those issues started to present themselves early on in my life, and kind of dealt with it. The hand issue, arthritis in my hands, all that stuff, the pain, stopped my career in baseball. I had to quit playing college baseball somewhere, I think my junior year. By that point, I was done. And so, hold on just a second. And so that's kind of been my life. And I just thought it was a part of my life I was going to live with. But because what I'd seen with my wife, I wanted the version of her back because that's what she wanted so bad, right? We just wanted to get her healthy. And so Juan sends us some bottles, and I know Ashley shared with, but they all came in Spanish, and we tried them, and we made a mess. It was all over. We didn't know what we had. Couldn't read it. I don't even know if it said Vitify on the bottle. I think it did. It might have said Nanify. I just don't remember. But I do remember pulling it out going, what is this? And then going, you try it. I ain't trying it. You're the sick one, right? And so I tell Kylie, she tries it. She's like, never again. And so we just kind of keep sharing our life, sharing our story. And Juan reaches back out and says, hey, you're not taking this stuff, are you? And I was like, yes, we are. We're taking it. He's like, no, you won't. No, you aren't. Because if you were, you'd feel good. And so what I did is I made him a promise. And I said, all right. Kylie goes, if you're telling me it'll help that much, I'll try it. And I said, well, babe, if you're going to do it, I'll put whatever that stuff is. I'll put it in me too. Juan, would you at least tell us what's on the bottle before we start taking it? And he read it to us. And I was like, oh, it's just curcumin and vitamin D. Because all we had was Danify. And I was like, yeah, okay, we can do that. And so we start taking it. And I'm telling you, there's just different changes that started happening, right? I just struggled to sleep. I just figured that came of age. My sleep started to improve pretty quick, right? Don't know where that one is. Someone can get that. My sleep started to improve pretty quick. Kylie's not so much, but mine was. And I think she got a little jealous because I felt like she was elbowing me at night, like, wake up, like every time, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. when she'd wake up, it was kind of those elbows. And so I was starting to sleep better. And then the next thing I know, she had lost her taste and smell, right? And she's like, one day she's just like, let me, I think we were drinking some detox tea, whatever. And she tasted it. She's like, babe, that stuff's bad. It's gone bad. Like, babe, that stuff's tasted like that since the day we got it. I've been telling you that all along, and you forced me to drink it for 3 months. And all all of a sudden she starts smelling me. She starts going around grabbing the kids. And I mean, like, it's like all of a sudden parts of her life's coming back. Well, after the end of the 30 days, she's starting to get a full night's sleep. She's starting to feel better. And then the best thing about it was that when she looked at me, she's like, I feel normal again. Right. And I mean, 17 years, well, 16, I guess at the time, not having the same version of her that I had the first 14 years, right? We went 3-year on that. And then just to start seeing some of this come back, no naps during the day. And then she's like, hey, Ryan, or hey, babe, not Ryan, right? I think we could move back to the normal plates. Guys, we had given up normal plates, normal silverware, normal plates. We'd done paper plates or plastic plates, crappy just cups, anything that I couldn't drop, because most of everything that we had, I couldn't hang on to. I dropped it all the time, especially if I'd had a longer day at work. And she's like, hey, you haven't dropped anything in a long time. I'm like, I know. I feel good. Like my hands feel good. And so I've got my strength back in my hands. Dr. J has been on a journey with me. Jay, is that a year of foot pain that we fought plantar fasciitis? At least a year of, guys, I felt like a rabbit. And you know what a rabbit does? They move, they go, and then every time they stop, their butt hits the ground. That was my life for a year. Every time I stopped, I either had to, if I was working on the farm, I'd carry a bucket with me and put the bucket under my butt. I'd sit down. If I was at school teaching, I rolled around in the chair. And so we have seen that drastically change. Like I'm up, I'm moving, I'm walking, I'm running. And it's been one thing after another, right? And so I've got little parts of my life back that I thought we gave up. I've got my wife back. We're still fighting some battles, right? We get going and we have some days where we fight some battles. But the version of my wife that I knew before her surgery and before being diagnosed with Hashimoto's and before all the struggle, I got her back. And that's been the best part of this, is this. And I'm gonna be honest, we don't talk about this hardly at all. But Symbiofy, whenever this came out and I added this, I guess it's been about 6 months now, 7 months now, it took away the bloating. And I swear, and Dr. J, I could be wrong, but I think it made this work better. I don't know why. I do know they were designed to work together, so maybe that's why. But I just feel like adding this after about 15, 16, 20 days, somewhere in there, I felt like this just ramped up. And so that's a little bit about me. I could talk all night because I love this stuff. I just feel good. And I hadn't felt good in a long time. So I'm not the only one that wants to share, though. I know there's some other people that were wanting to share. So I'm going to shut up. Thank you, guys.
You're absolutely right, though, Ryan. The Symbiofy, I have leaky gut, and to have good gut health again is insane. It's crazy. So that those work so well together, and the work, and I learned about it in Dallas and started taking it since. And my stomach. Anyway, you don't want to hear about all that. So I know, I know that we have a couple more people that want to share, and that's kind of the amazing thing about this is people get excited to share this because they want you to know what this is doing for them. So I know, Miss Selena, if you wouldn't mind unmuting, we'd love to hear your story.
Thank you, Ashley. Ryan, you've already got me like in the tear mode right now. I resonate so much with what you shared about having your life back or being back. So I'm a registered nurse by trade, but I've been in the holistic space since I was 18 years old. My whole life has been a cycle of autoimmune, dealing with inflammation. I've used turmeric, I've used curcumin. I've always went back to it, knowing the science behind it. I was at a pretty good space until 2 years ago. I got bit by some mosquitoes, and so the inflammation just went rampant, amplified everything else I'd been dealing with for multiple years. So the last 2 years, I spent most of it watching my husband in the gym. You probably seen me in the car just earlier. We were coming back from the gym, and that is one of the biggest victories in this too over the last 2 months is I can actually work out and I'm not needing a nap after that, right? I sat back and I watched Dr. Jeremy. I watched him for months. I kept reading his testimonies. I kept seeing what he was sharing, and I kept thinking, could this really help me? I was no longer myself. I literally needed a nap upon a nap upon a nap every day. I was dealing with pain throughout my whole entire body. Everything I did weight-wise, I've been a personal trainer for 18 years, nothing was working. Everything that I knew, nothing was working. But I knew and know inflammation is at the root of everything, combined with emotional stuff. I do a lot of emotional healing and trauma therapy with individuals. And so I finally messaged Dr. Thornton and I said, listen, I don't want to know anything else. I just want to know how to get this. I've got to muscle test it. I've got to do all these things before I will put it into my body. But I knew how particular he was and I had seen the transformations. I remember after that first day that I took it, I messaged him. I said, all right, it came in the mail. I'm going to take it. I went ahead. I'd already muscle tested it. My body literally like jumped towards this stuff. And I put it in my body. And my husband and I went to the gym that evening. That evening, I came home and I wasn't tired. I still had energy after we had worked out. Now, some of those times during those last 2 years, I literally would get on a treadmill for 5 minutes to walk. And I love to lift. I've done CrossFit, I've done bodybuilding, like lifting is a huge part of my life, but 5 minutes on a treadmill would deplete me so bad I couldn't even go back to the gym for days, right? So we came home that night. I still had energy, but the biggest thing that I noticed, I've dealt with fog from multiple different autoimmune things, reactions, tick-borne illness, stuff like that. My brain was clear. I gave up coffee in January because I knew that my adrenals needed it. I knew that I needed to kick that, but it was like I had drank coffee, but I didn't have the jitters and my brain was turned on. It was literally clear, like the windshield had been wiped. But I didn't tell him this as he messaged me and he kept messaging me because I'm like, this is too good to be true, right? And every day I kept feeling a little bit better and a little bit better. Eventually my clients, some of my dear friends kept saying, Selena, you're not telling us. You're taking something that you're not telling us. And they know the arsenal of stuff that I have done over the last 2 years to get my life back. So finally, I had to start sharing with them what I was doing. They knew that I was talking like 90 miles an hour, and they hadn't seen that in 2 to 3 years. They knew something was going on. So I knew that I had to also start sharing this. But, you know, I remember it was about 3 weeks in, I did my 10 drops, all right? And it was like I heard a God moment or the universe saying, take 10 more. Guys, I was not in the testimony group, all right? I didn't even really read the directions, but I'm like, I'm gonna take 10 more drops. Oh my gosh, I felt even better than I already was feeling. Like my biggest words, stay consistent with it, give it a try. I literally have my life back. My husband, when we went to Cancun, I drank pop. I don't drink pop very often, but normally my feet literally look like little sausages if I drank one thing of pop. All right. I drank pop every single day while we were there. For some reason, I was like, yes, I'm going to drink the pop. I drank it every day. My feet never swelled. I turned around on the flight home because my flight there, I didn't have any restless leg stuff going on. I didn't have any pain, couldn't hardly sit in my seat that I normally experience on an airline trip. So on the way home, I specifically put on my leggings because usually that's going to amplify, make my feet swell even more after a plane ride, right? No swelling. No swelling at all. I came home 4 pounds lighter from our week in Mexico than when we had went. And the only thing that I made sure that I did every morning, and we stayed up dancing till late hours. People would see me the next morning. They're like, how are you awake? And I'm like, it's this stuff. Like I would say, bring me some hot water. I've already got my tea bags. I took my tea bags with me and I'd put my curcumin in there every single morning. And I drank it every single day. I continued it while I was on vacation. To no longer feel the constant pain that I used to feel in my face. I had started with that about 3 years ago. I had one little stint when I had first started on this stuff. And again, I just made sure that I used it, knowing that this inflammation is getting to the roots of what was going on with my body, really resetting. I can't thank Dr. Thornton enough. I can't thank Kylie and Ryan, for them having continued to share this experience for me now to be able to help the other people that are out there in the same space that I was in, wondering, is there anything else out there? Is there anything else out there that can really put a smile back on my face, that can have me, feeling like I have the energy to get through the day? My son's going to be a senior this year. And to think, I'm not just going to be partially running in pain across that cross country field. Like I'm going to be sprinting. Like I've got the energy to sprint after him. So that's a little bit of my story. There's so much more that I could share. I can't wait to try this and BioFi. Like I'm excited to add that into this, but I've used the Nanofy, and I've also now used the curcumin plus. I was a little leery about that because I've had some trouble in the past with ginger, but knowing also purity and how things are extracted and stuff also play a role. Vitamin D has also been something I've been super low in. So knowing the impact of that also in these products was another reason why I said, absolutely, yes, I need this. So that's my story.
I love it. Dr. J, is that why I talk so fast too? I do. I talk so fast. I'm like, maybe that's why. So yeah, I love it.
The
I
brain's
love
on.
it. You nailed it, because I talked to so many people who almost gave up hope before this. They almost gave up hope, and then they found this. So if that's one thing if your takeaway tonight is that there is hope. And I know Miss Sherry wants to share her
Thank you.
story too, and I'm so excited to hear that story. These stories are amazing, aren't they? Gosh. Okay.
Hey guys, so Jeremy, I think, introduced me to this, last fall. Would it have been? I think so. So anyway, I ignored him for a while. He's like, I've got this curcumin turmeric. And I was like, yeah, so do I. No, I've got something different. No, I'm sure mine's great. And so it mentally went back and forth. You didn't know that. Maybe you did. And then finally, he sent me some. I tried it. 4 or 5 days in, I was like, I'm not really feeling a huge difference. And I'll get to kind of my backstory in a minute. Ended up taking 20 drops a day. That did make the difference and changed a whole lot of things. So I started having knee pain at 11. And I say 11, that's the earliest recollection I have of it. But then I know at 12, they took me to Columbia to see a doctor for my knee pain. So it's been going, and I'm 50. So knees issue. Had surgery on it several years ago. It didn't really do any good. So when I was 12, here's the medical advice I got. Ice, rest, compress, elevate, ibuprofen, 800 milligrams, 3 times a day as a 12-year-old. No expiration. They wrote me a script for a big fat pill. Never said come back, never said therapy, never like watched my gait, any of that. It was, oh, your leg hurts. Okay, here's some ibuprofen. Anyway, so it's a wonder I have any stomach lining at all. But that said, I was taking CBD, a lot of it, and that's expensive if you take good CBD every single day. And I'm not crying. I just got something in my throat. I'm outside. Kratom, another herb that I would take. Knee pain every day. So when this started working, I was like, man, my knees feel better today. And then I ran out of CBD, and I didn't freak out about it. I normally would. And then I noticed I didn't need it at all. And then I was thinking, man, I'm not taking the kratom at all. And so then I was just down to the curcumin, which is a big deal when you're taking a lot of things, trying to support a certain problem. And this one can do so many things. So super excited about that. But in my office, you guys, I could go on and on and on. One client in particular, his story just keeps getting better. I think he's over 70. And the first time he asked me about something for pain, I feel like he had shoulder pain. And it was just a few days, and he comes in a lot, and he's like, hey, that's really working. And then he had something else happened to his finger, and he couldn't figure that out. And then he said, well, the doctor said it was probably going to be swollen for several months. Swelling's down in a week. So I kind of contribute that. Then he called me to say, you know what? I've been thinking I'm sleeping a whole lot better too. And I was like, well, that's really great. And then he ordered some for his granddaughter, and she had a lot of belly issues over the years. Sorry, I can't figure out where to look and what I can see with glasses or without. And 13, 14-year-old, in a few weeks, her belly was feeling a whole lot better. I've got, real quick, I'll finish up. I've got 4 or 5 people with blood sugar problems that have really leveled out. 2 A1Cs over, let's see. I don't want to mess this up. Very high. came down to normal. One gal whose sugar, she checks it daily, always 200, 300, has been running 100, 150 consistently. And one client whose thyroid antibodies were all out of whack are normal. So that's just a few. And I have a handful of people, Jeremy, you'll probably, I'm sure you've been through this. They come in every, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, and they get more. And they're like, I don't want to be without it. I even had messages on my machine over the weekend. I took Friday off, and then we were gone. No, I took Saturday off. Sherry, are you really gone? And I, of course, didn't get it till Tuesday. I was like, oh gosh, I ran out of, and I thought maybe you were in town. I'm like, oh man, but it's just funny because they just keep coming back.
I love it. I did a whole drive-by drop-off at 8:30 last night. So she's like, I'm out. I need some more. So I completely get that. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm so glad your need's better and that you're sharing this with people too. I want to remind you guys, we do have an amazing Facebook group, and we have testimonies and information and science. And it's not just about this. We are talking about whole body wellness. That's what we want. It's not just this. It's food, it's exercise, it's learning how to take care of our bodies more naturally. And so we cover a lot of those things in that group. It is amazing. So if you're not in that group, whoever invited you, make sure you ask to be added into that group, and then invite people. If you know people who need this, invite people to the group. And that's a really good way to share that with them. They can read testimonies. You can search if you have a issue you want to search, you can search at the top and see what the testimony, where the testimonies are about there. So now I want to open this up to Q&A. Like, I'd love if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat if you don't feel comfortable, hopping off mute and sharing with us. I'm going to open up the chat so I can make sure. Or if you feel comfortable, pop off mute and ask a question, and most likely Dr. Jeremy will answer it. But we're here to help and answer any questions you have. Don't feel nervous about it. If you have a question, somebody else probably has the same one. They might just be too nervous to ask. So does anybody have anything, any questions at all? No. All right, let me just check the chat. Okay, here we go. Let's see. How long does it take to feel results? Dr. J, you wanna cover that question?
Yeah, that is a very difficult question to answer. I will say that everybody's different. Of course, a lot of different underlying issues, health conditions, age, wear and tear, any underlying disease processes, things like that, of course, are going to make a difference. I will say the majority of people will feel some changes pretty quickly. I mean, some within hours, most within days. But I will say that I was thinking about an autoimmune patient of mine that I started on the drops, and I honestly I was getting a bit frustrated for her because I really expected it to work faster. But I just kept encouraging her because I knew, guys, using this for as long as I have and seeing people's health completely transform. And the cool thing is I also get to see behind the scenes at their labs, right? And follow them with looking at their antibodies, with their autoimmune conditions, and looking at their inflammatory markers and their blood sugar and their insulin and all of these cool things. So I know my confidence level in this product is super high, but she wasn't feeling it and wasn't feeling it. We upped it just a little bit, and I told her just to hang in there. And it was nearly 3 weeks. And then it was almost like a light switch. It just completely changed. And I was so glad that she didn't get, I'm sure she did get frustrated, but she didn't quit. And that she hung in there, because she is, right now, she's nearly pain-free and has been dealing with rheumatoid arthritis for a very long time. And so once in a while, we'll have somebody that takes a little while longer, but majority of people are pretty quick. Hope that helps. All right.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It varies between person, and I think gut health plays a big part in that too. And that's why I think that Symbiofy taking them both together makes a huge difference too. So any other questions? Did I see, is there any more in the chat? Did I miss any? I don't want to miss anybody's questions. Again, if you don't feel comfortable asking, that's okay. Let's see. I want my husband to try, but he takes Coumadin. Any recommendations for taking with blood thinners?
Sorry, that's a very important one to work with your medical doctor. There is very slight, and I don't like to call it blood thinning properties of curcumin, because really it's more about, it improves the blood viscosity. It actually creates a blood that's less sticky. Some will say that's blood thinning, and I just disagree, but it's important to bring it up with their doctor. I have 2 patients that I know that off the top of my head that are on Coumadin. Their doctor has allowed them, because this is, if you look at it, is a very low dose compared to most products on the market. They allowed them to take it. And of course, they closely checked, their blood thickness to make sure there wasn't any problem there. And they're doing fine on Coumadin and their curcumin. Coumadin is one I'm most concerned about as far as potential issues there. But again, if you work closely with your doctor and you monitor, that's a possibility that can still be used. Other blood thinners I haven't been as concerned about. So I hope that helps. Again, always check with your doctor.
It looks like we have a question about how long this lasts if you take 10 drops. So I'll just really quickly, if you fill this thing all the way to the top, that's 14 drops. So what I usually do is I'll drop 4 out, but 10 drops, this is a 30-day bottle. So it should last you 30 days if you take 10 drops every day. And then it looked like there was another question for you, Dr. J. Let's see, do the drops with ginger do the exact same as the drops without? I'll let you.
Yeah, and that answer is yes. It is very similar. It still has the curcumin technology, right, that we're so excited about. The only difference is the curcumin plus has a little bit of vitamin C added and a little bit of ginger added. So there are times, especially if there's a lot of tummy issues, that I might suggest the plus over the Nanofy, just because I like that added ginger in there. But I find that a lot of people have tried both and they kind of find the one they like the best. As far as benefits in practice and following up patients and their labs and their what I've seen, I think they're both pretty comparable as far as the benefits.
I like the one with ginger. I think it's just, for me, it's preference. It's not that I feel any difference with it. It's just that I like the one with ginger. And it never hurts to add some extra vitamin C in your life. So let's see. I think she is asking for documents or anything she can send to her doctor, his doctor specifically.
Stacy, connect with me. I'm sure we can get connected and let's have a chat, and I will share some documents, some research, the specifics about what's inside those drops, and that would be something that would be easy to share with your doctor.
Perfect. And then, usually the question we get is, how do you take it? And so I'll just go over that real quick and wait, if anybody else have any more questions, that way they can pop in. So you can drop this in room temperature water in a water bottle, shake it up. You can mix it in hot tea. You can mix it in just warm tea. Some people like to drink warm water. You can mix it in your coffee. You can make yourself a golden latte. I personally just literally drop it right in my mouth and swallow it. I want it as quick as I can in my bloodstream. There are so many different ways you can take it, but room temperature water, warm drinks mix the best. So there's also veg capsules that if you're like, listen, I am not taking, that's okay. My mom takes the veg capsules. You drop your 10 drops in it, you close the capsule, you swallow it like a pill. So there's, I promise you, anybody and everybody can take it. My kids take it. I mix it in warm water, 5 drops for my little one, and then put a little bit of orange juice in there, and he sucks it down like it's the best thing ever. So anybody can do this, I promise. And everybody worries about the taste or that it'll stain your teeth. It does not. Curcumin has actually been shown to whiten teeth, so that's another plus. Let's see, Dr. J, have I any other frequently asked questions?
Hey, I will say this. I'll say this. I'll add this actually. those of you who struggle with gum issues or tooth pain, sensitive teeth, there is an added benefit to either putting it directly in your mouth or in room temperature water and letting that swish all over your mouth and teeth. It is drastically changed multiple people that are buddies of mine, their gum health, and my tooth sensitivity is gone. So if that's something you deal with, and you just squeeze it down the back, or you take the capsule, you won't see those benefits as great as you would if you put it directly in your mouth.
Look at that. I'm still learning things. Is that why my teeth aren't hurting? That's pretty
Indeed.
cool. That's amazing. Well, I think that it doesn't look like there's any more questions in the chat. But get with the person that connected with you to this Zoom. If you have any questions, or if you want to grab some, or if you want to be in the Facebook group, definitely get in that Facebook group, and then invite anybody and everybody. If you love them and they are hurting, invite them. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. Your time is precious. We know that, and we are so grateful to have you on here. And I just pray that the Lord blesses you and keeps you this week. Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye, guys.